All right. Hey, everyone. Welcome to the Intercoin show, where we talk about how we're going to change the world together. Crypto is so volatile. Oh, man. It's been quite a week, quite a roller coaster. We're going to talk about that a little bit. But on the show today, we have some amazing guests moving the space forward, not just crypto, but also we've got metaverse, avatars, NFTs, and just experiential stuff. So, Stacy, want to introduce our guests in the show?
Sure. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the Intercoin show. I'm Stacy Brown, and my job with Intercoin is building our community. Let me give a brief introduction of what Intercoin is as a business. Intercoin is a tech company. We build decentralized products for absolutely any type of community. Here on the Intercoin show, we host guests with communities in mind. Gives us insight what we can continue to build to assist communities with efficiency, growth, collaboration. Ideally, the show is to showcase different guests and communities and all that kind of stuff. We cater to absolutely every type of community, from small businesses to large corporations. Additionally, in the past, we've previously built and are still continuing to assist politicians with growth solutions with our apps and that kind of stuff. Some other markets that we're gearing up to serve include celebrities, nonprofits, schools, charities, sports clubs. Basically, the list could go on for days. This month in May, Intercoin has 2 new products launching. One being the Intercoin app. This will be used to automate and connect our community and all kinds of other features. You guys will see that soon. Secondly, we have an NFT remix coming out. Our NFT platform will have some interesting concepts that will all be revealed soon as well too. That will be coming out in May. Today we have 3 special guests. We're going to kick it off I want to thank them for coming. I want to welcome them. We got Blake and Ryan from Interact. We also got Mel Hart, which is a highly skilled NFT artist, digital artist, and photographer. Let's start it off by maybe if Blake can introduce himself for Interact.
Sure thing.
You can, as much as if you just want to say hi and introduce yourself, or if you want to maybe go on a little bit and kind of explain how you ended up in this industry and where you've come from. Just whoever wants to start first, go ahead.
Sure. Stacy, again, thanks for having us. Thanks to the Intercoin show. My name is Ryan Isbell. I am the founder and CEO of Interact Inc. And Blake here.
My name is Blake Seffner. I'm Ryan's CTO, and I like to call myself a mad computer scientist. I've been writing code longer than most people have been alive these days. My background goes into, I was one of the original Mac developers. I was doing CD-ROMs back when CD-ROMs was research. I was on the OS team of the 3DO and the PlayStation. I was on the team that did the first live video broadcast on the internet, and I've worked in visual effects through 2 Visual Effects Academy Awards at Rhythm & Hue Studios. So I'm basically a mad computer scientist.
He really is, and that's why there was no other person I could think of than Blake Seffner. Essentially, Interact started roughly on 2017. I was in production and kind of got into VR 360 video during the whole VR, AR boom, and kind of dived into game development with Unreal and Unity. And just kind of getting immersed in creating games and seeing the different content that was available for purchase or for free online. And as a lifelong gamer, I was like, man, this is fairly easy. Why can't I put my face on a video game character now to play inside one of these games? So that kind of started this idea of researching and developing what is now Interact. Interact started about last year as a facial projection system. We launched I put an ad on Facebook group for a game saying, hey, I need some testers, and started out with 15 users, and now we're over 1,300 grown organically. Since then, we're able to take your face from a single photo and project that onto any kind of 3D model character, as long as it's a human character with a face and eyes and a nose and a mouth. We started with some smaller games to kind of see if people liked it and if we could do it well, and they did, so much that they tell their friends about it and influencers post about us. And if you really look into that space, it's kind of Interact's beginning in making good on people's interoperability promises. Because what we were able to do at a very basic level is take a 3D object character, 3D model character, that wasn't ours, that we had no process in creating, that already has its set, topography and included animations. We were able to ingest that into a pipeline and then create a brand new texture to fit that perfectly, and then send out the texture via an API call. Why we got into the characters in the first place, I saw this opportunity because I'm a PC gamer and I mod. And knowing that there's over 1,500 AAA games out there that people actually really play that you can actually modify. And seeing all this and being a part of it, it's kind of led us to how we've gotten involved in the whole, Web3 blockchain NFT space. And it's very interesting, the crossover, because where traditional gaming is kind of your old guard. They're very established. They have their ways. They don't like to play well with others outside their ecosystem too often. And then you have Web3 blockchain and the immersion of blockchain gaming, essentially, where it kind of takes that PC modification idea of, hey, open it up to the community and let them build and design assets and levels for our game to continue the process. I feel that making objects truly interoperable between these different worlds is what's really going to set the metaverse apart from traditional gaming in the short term. Now, the metaverse is a funny word because everyone says it, but if you really look at it, with the exception of a few cases, they're all still games living on their own little island, right? So there's not really that interconnectivity between other environments. They're trying to do it, but you still have lots of barriers and optimization guidelines to follow to take your originally created asset and putting that into a completely another 3D environment, whether it be the metaverse, traditional gaming, Zoom, whatever, right? So what we've kind of done over the last year is, as we've seen this community and this process grow, we've actually been involved with several other NFT communities and getting their assets available to not only to the community in the form of 3D assets, but really take that another step further and kind of create a system that allows them to upload their 3D assets, organize it the way they want in a nice GUI project management system. And then from there, we could pump out a JSON file that's connected to all this stuff. So if you have clothing with different fabric swaps, or if you have a character collection that has different, let's just say, animals and different attributes and different clothing, you can mix and match all that from a simple JSON file, and we can actually produce the 3D file for your users. The PFPs and the still PNG images, the kind of showcase what that character looks like, as well as any kind of animation round table MP4 video needed. And that's kind of a huge deal because we're essentially taking this process that you have to really piece together through several disciplines and kind of put it all under one roof and say, hey, if you have the idea and you have the characters and you have the 3D assets, bring them here. We'll help you get it all sorted out and pumped out to your community the way you want it. So it's not like, oh, well, this looked a certain way when we designed it, but when we actually followed through to the end, it came out completely different. So kind of having that consistency across the actual production pipeline is really, this kind of makes what Interact is doing, I feel, very special.
And then also, likewise, we do work where 2D NFT producers come to us and they want their characters realized as 3D. And this video being shared now, this is one of our client interfaces that it's essentially allows, this is a preview for a 2D NFT conversion client, and we turn their NFTs into 3D characters. And then this is an interface that they can use to preview the work as well as set up custom lighting for the characters.
By the way, this is Greg. I wanted to ask, I'm very fascinated by how do you reconstruct the back faces, and what do you do to add detail where obviously 2D character doesn't have all of the 3D geometry?
Well, essentially, that is a collaborative process between us and the actual NFT creator. So, for example, in this case, this is actually a project we're doing now with Pixelbeast. So Pixelbeast was created by Yohei Nakajima, and essentially he did a whole 10,000 collection based on 24 by 24 pixels. And we were able to take those, essentially a CSV file that he gave us that kind of had all the attributes and everything already laid out, and kind of based on the images in that CSV file, work with him and in our own creative collective to essentially create these characters for his liking, as well as sharing them with his community. We gave them at first several different options of the way the character could look. Let the community vote on what they want to see, and then proceed with the actual production process of creating these assets. And then once these assets are created, for example, like that character, essentially a lot of them use the same base body, and the heads are what is actually being switched up around for the different characters. So for example, this 10,000 NFT collection broke down to about 96 different 3D assets. And then essentially putting that all into a large either project or a wrapped FBX or GLTF, GLB file, we instituted a large file uploader that then can bring that into our system to where you can actually see all the different layers and all the different pieces of those assets, and then organize them in a way to where now all he has to do is run essentially he has to run our API with a JSON file saying, hey, make my Pixelbeast collection, essentially. And it can actually go through that whole CSV file and pump out 10,000 NFT 3D characters that are based on the characters that he already minted for his original collection.
Yeah, and then likewise, we have another client that is working with high-end fashion designers, and they produce clothing that is, they're actual fashion designers working in the clothing industry. So the software that they use is essentially clothing CAD, and so the outputs of their work, like a T-shirt, would be like 7 million polygons. A dress would be like 30 million polygons. So we then ingest those 500 megabyte files and convert them into a nice, tiny, real-time file that still retains the same look as the original file. We're just using video game normal maps to recreate that type of complexity in a lower resolution version, or in a lower polygon count version.
And when you guys talk about community voting on something, I just wanted to say that's a big part of like what Intercoin likes to do: create community apps and allow people to vote on things. That's what NFT Remix actually might have as well. And so, what are you guys currently using for your community software? I'm just curious. If,
currently, right now, we use Discord. Interact Alpha app is on Discord. We actually do all of our intercompany communication via Discord. We are still a stealth startup. We haven't gone through any traditional fundraising rounds. Everything we are is based off of actual revenue generation. Mm-hmm. So we're a little behind the 8 ball as far as setting up our complete social media presence. We're more concerned on working with other people to help us create this vision, as well as working within their communities to let them actually be a part of the process and say, hey, you guys are paying for this. What do you want to see? That's really what it comes down to. These community members are paying users, right? Mm-hmm. Let them decide the things that you will be making for them. Make sure it's something they want to buy. Let them be involved in the process. That's, to us, community is at the heart of everything we've done. I grew the Interact platform with 100% organically, and everything I have is because of our community, involving them. So taking what we've learned from building our own community and applying that to our partners and how they work community involvement in any part of our process is 100% the way we do business.
That's fantastic.
Very
Go
much
ahead.
so.
Yeah, I was going to say that we could explore different ways that maybe we could help enrich the Discord. How do people kind of like buy the NFT to be part of the community and then they needed to enter the Discord, or how does it really work?
Well, as far as Interact's own Discord for our traditional gaming projection app, you don't need to buy anything. The actual app is free. It's essentially it was our MVP testing unit. So for us, if you want to get involved in the traditional side, it's completely free. We have no NFT launch program ourselves. We essentially want to empower other communities to take their perceived 2D collections and turn them into 3D. Or if a collection already has existing 3D characters, how do we put that into a system that makes those characters accessible easily for their community? So it's more about really us helping everybody else out. We want to make this an easy process for the actual collection themselves, as well as the communities that they serve.
Yeah, one of our company values, which is very strong, is that we try to position ourselves as a neutral intermediary between other parties. You know, where a NFT producer and their competition and other people that are trying to operate in this space, we won't compete with them. We will help them. We will help everybody create as much value as possible. But we're not there trying to figure out an angle and then do what they're doing.
Exactly. No, I'm as Stacy knows, I'm very big on collaboration instead of just competition. Right, Stacy?
Exactly.
Huh. I mean, and listen, we love NFTs. As a lifelong gamer, I love the core fact of what NFTs are. The ability to own, sell, trade assets, right? As a gamer, I want to be able to own those assets that I purchase in different games, and I want to be able to use them or sell them or trade them as I see fit. I feel like that concept on its own is really the propelling factor that's going to transcend what we're seeing now in the early stages of what NFTs are. And gaming and digital interactions is really you can call it an evolution, or sometimes I like to call it more of a revolution inside of gaming. Now, it's unfortunate that a lot of traditional gamers don't feel the same way about NFTs, but I feel like NFTs still have a barrier to entry that's scary for some people. Setting up a wallet, if you've never done it for the first time, is a scary process. If you don't have the funds to really play around with, because let's face it, the people buying NFTs usually have some spare cash around, because it could get pricey at a lot of different points.
Any cash, they have to get crypto cash, which means they have to get into some sort of exchange or have a friend send them some money, peer-to-peer.
Exactly. I started off using MoonPay. I love MoonPay. That was a good way to use existing funds I had in real life currency to get them into a cryptocurrency. So, but it's just the research involved. It's a new thing. People are kind of still stuck in their old ways. So what's the best way to transition this really awesome thing of NFTs into a more of a mainstream idea, right?
Exactly. I actually met the guys behind MoonPay. It's funny. They were here in New York. It was the investors into MoonPay, and then they came on the board. So, MoonPay is one of the big gateways that we use here in the United States, and I think there were other ones in Europe. Of course, people could use Coinbase, right? Winklevoss twins. I ran into them one time in Florida. They have their own Gemini exchange, right? So everyone's making these gateways, and I think that's actually more resilient, right, than having PayPal, which is the only gateway in and out of the PayPal ecosystem.
Correct.
Right?
Totally. Right. And it's removing those barriers that'll help people really kind of embrace this new technology, I feel.
Yeah, what I see is interesting. I just wanted to kind of throw out some ideas here, is that crypto, as more and more people put their money in crypto, it's sort of like this programmable cash. And Web3 is still about sort of these applications that are once in a while transactions or peer-to-peer transactions. But I think as things become faster, more scalable, we're going to see everyday transactions, micropayments,
Yep.
and just regular payments. So one thing I notice is that when you have community software, which is something that we've been building, for the last 10 years, we've been building community software, is that there's sort of this Web 2 world, okay, where you have roles and you have badges. So badges are things that you earn, right? You've probably seen this on many Web 2 sites, right? This is our forum.
It's also prevalent inside gaming as well, for communities inside gaming.
Yeah, it's the whole gamification systems.
Exactly. And the thing is that you earned something by doing something. It's sometimes also called a POAP. Basically, it's that you showed up somewhere and then you scanned your QR code and you get a badge. You get something. And so what's interesting is that, like I said, it's decentralized, so it works across websites. So you might earn it on one website or one game, and then anyone else can see it on the blockchain and, maybe use it, maybe you spend it. But typically you don't spend your badge. You don't send it to someone else because you were the one who climbed Mount Everest. You were the one who, did all these things on the forum. However, there's a second thing, right, called roles. And it's like, who's an administrator, right? Who is a guest on our show, right? And so on. And so I think these roles, a lot of times communities almost like can sell these roles. They're not securities necessarily because there's not a direct link. You're not going to get rich by having a role in a game or a community. But at the same time, you do get social status. And last I checked, the SEC doesn't tax social status.
True.
Yeah.
I mean, isn't this already the format for Discord servers? If you look at a lot of NFT collections, they're doing a Discord server where they have everything like that laid out, roles and badges. So, for example, every member you invite gets you a certain level. It increases your status within that community and the access you have in and around that community. So, of course, it's now transcending that into a Web3 format that allows for, again, interoperability. It all comes down to interoperability, but then the logistics behind interoperability is what people, I feel, really fall short on thinking about. Because, for example, let's stay in the realm of 3D assets, right? You have, let's even go traditional gaming. Let's say you have FIFA, and then you have Pro Evolution Soccer, right? Those are two similar games. They're both really good, football, soccer games, right? But they're two completely different publishers. No way is EA going to allow anything they do to touch that game or vice versa, right? But if there was a centralized place, a centralized source of truth where different companies, regardless if they're in the Web 2 or Web 3 space, game production, whatever, could essentially house and secure their assets with a system that allows for re-rigging, auto-rigging of those set assets to then be transferred via API into another game. Now it's getting a little more interesting because that's really the thought process you need to have. Just because you see a 3D asset on a game that you play or something you do doesn't mean it's easily ingested into another game or another realm, right? So I feel like one of the things we try to do is become that centralized point of truth for those 3D assets. And on essentially running APIs eliminates any really use for any kind of game engine SDK. It really just comes down to what program language do you use and what do you need to see that API call in. Copy and paste.
Exactly. That's the interesting thing is that there are these experiential worlds like the one I'm loading over here at Mona Gallery. And, people just build a bunch of 3D environments, which they've been doing for years. Yeah, so they've got these 3D environments.
If you think about what they're building with, now the two most common game engine building platforms are Unity and Unreal, right?
Mm-hmm.
Those are they're both free. And, I feel Unity has more, it's a larger system and it has more what I like to call hobbyists. So you have a larger pool of developers as opposed to Unreal, which is a little more cutting edge. If you've seen the recent news feeds with Unreal, especially the one where the cinematographer or whomever essentially did pretty much looks like a real life train station inside of Unreal. I mean, Unreal's really pushing the boundaries, and on top of that, they own Fortnite, so they have not only a solid game engine, but they have an ecosystem of existing games within that they personally publish and produce, as well as other games used to build and publish their own games with. So if you look at someone like an Epic Games who owns Unreal, that's essentially a metaverse. They actually have the webbing, the fiber, to actually take the characters from the different games and make them interoperate in the existing in their existing IP library.
Exactly. I'm going to get to that because, I initially met Blake actually by thinking about creating avatars. Mm-hmm. And I Googled it, and Blake was like, one of the... That's right.
Yeah.
He has a history of doing that. And so, they've got these things like Ready Player Me that basically assemble not realistic avatars, but they assemble them from components like eyes, nose, mustache,
Fun fact, Ready Player Me used to be called Wolf 3D, and they started off doing photoreal projections.
That's right. I actually found Wolf 3D on GitHub, so they've open sourced it.
Yep.
And they were funded by... Okay, so this is not Wolfenstein 3D, by the way. That's always getting in the way as well.
Yeah.
Wolf
3D, there it is.
Yeah,
I did not realize Ready Player Me was Wolf 3D. Back in 2013, I did some brief consulting for them.
Really?
I thought they didn't come out. I thought they were out a little later.
Well,
while they were still undergrads.
Their goal was essentially to develop this. It almost looks like one of those old school 70s space chairs, like from Dazed and Confused, right? Mm-hmm. And it would essentially do a volumetric capture of your head and your upper body. That way, producing a really high quality photorealistic character of yourself. They since then transitioned, which I thought was a good play several years ago, into this stylized character, because if you use facial projection in its most basic way, like I could scan my face right now and say I have black glasses, I have black, brown eyebrows, I have a hat on, I have a mustache. My eyes are this far from my nose and this far from my lips are this wide. Now taking all that information and connecting it with an asset library for lips, eyes, noses, mouths, hair colors, accessory clothing accessory items. Now I can quickly build you a character that looks like yourself. Like, for example, he's about to do it right now. Let's see what Greg looks like as a stylized 3D. And listen, Ready Player Me does a very good job with this. And people they went for like a Fortnite style stylized character, which is a pretty common character style nowadays in gaming. So it's, they do it well. They have a very expansive asset library that you could choose from. You could choose from colors. Listen, they did it. Tim did a really good job with Ready Player Me, and they secured another $13 million of funding. So you probably been seeing more Ready Player Me commercials on YouTube nowadays and then your other social media sites. It's a good character. It's a good system. But where I differ from them is they feel it's one character for all metaverse, and I feel differently about that. I feel based on the variety and the amount of things that are popping up now and it can be in the future, I don't feel one avatar will represent you throughout a bunch of different spaces. I feel that, especially within gaming, a lot of the process is inhabiting the attributes and the style that fit that game. So where this is a very good concept, we differ in thinking in that way. So that's why in Interact, one of the things we do, besides making an easy process for both our clients on the SaaS side and for their users, is essentially not to hinder the creative process for character creation or any kind of asset creation for that matter. We want to work within with what you as the creator envision the project to be like.
Exactly.
And then take that and say, hey, even though my Ready Player Me character might not look completely at home in a Call of Duty game, let's just say that, for example, it still should be able to be connected to that game, regardless. And if you want to take it one step further, we are working a little on R&D with actual stylization changing, so we could go from photoreal to stylized or stylized to photoreal from the same character. Obviously, that's going to take a little more time, and involves a little more tech work behind the scenes, but it's completely possible. It just, someone like us or someone other than us needs to really sit down and say, this is what we're focused on. And that's, at Interact, we're all focused on 3D assets, interoperability, auto rigging, re-rigging, simple API calls, and transformation of characters and creation of any kind of assets you need to support that socially.
The thing is, with Ready Player Me, so there's certain things I like, and then there's certain things that I think we need to talk about. And then I'd love to also bring in Mel to talk about the NFT aspect of it. There's basically these two sides, right? The experiential side, and then what we talked about, the sort of the geeky side, programming, APIs, backends, things like that. And both are important because obviously the backend, like you said, doesn't matter what the 3D engine is, it matters that you have the API. And you can export these models as, a standard format and put them in things. However, what matters in the experiential one is sometimes you don't want a totally realistic avatar because, then it can deep fake Noam Chomsky to say whatever I want.
True.
And actually Noam Chomsky is going to be on the show on the 23rd. That's why I chose him to show. Originally, when I first met Blake, I was thinking about, hey, a lot of the YouTube shows are boring talking heads. Like, in other words, if you watch the show all the time, you see the same person. The video is boring, not the audio. The audio is great, but the video is boring. Okay, and so actually they started to do a better job. Last time Noam Chomsky did not come out quite like this. But I would say,
if you can you show the original photos side by side so we could we can illustrate the point a little better as well. So yeah, there we go. I mean, obviously looks way younger in the Ready Player Me version.
He looks way younger. His beard is nicely kept, right? The thing is, right? You look very polished, even though you yourself may be sitting naked in front of the computer, right? Your avatar is not. So what I find interesting is that I think if you take it to its logical conclusion, another usage of these avatars is just going through and replacing all the talking heads in the videos, right? Just make these avatars talk. And when I reached out to Ready Player Me, I don't think they have, or at least, well,
it's not rigged. It's not rigged facially.
Yeah, as far as I know, they don't have the words. Yeah.
So we essentially we started our own photoreal models, and all of those not only are rigged throughout the face, but we've identified over 170 morph targets on the face.
Yeah, and so then that basically enables us to do
real-time capture.
Normal speaking to people that have partial paralysis, we would actually be able to correctly recreate their speech.
Oh, that's fantastic. So if you guys can you guys eventually analyze the audio and create the make the face sort of like if I'm saying
essentially that's lip sync technology. If it's already pre-recorded, that's actually not a difficult task. It's actually kind of trivial.
I've done that 15 years ago, actually.
Yeah. What's more prevalent now, I feel, is that, like, for example, say, Interact provided the Telegram plugin to where we could upload characters right now, all three of us. And instead of you seeing me in my office talking to you, you're seeing a 3D character with a cool background or inside of a 3D space talking to you. And essentially it's making all the hand gestures, all the facial gestures, hey, remove my glasses, or hey, I'm making funny faces. The real-time aspect, I feel, is where we want to aspire to be. We've done some testing in the short term. Blake has actually really quickly made some pretty quick work of getting some real-time facial capture right directly to the actual character.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
that would really
as far as the post process goes, for example, if you were to redo this conversation later on using the recorded audio, of course, we would even try to take it one step further to actually capture real-time animations to fit my movements in this video to the actual character, to that digital talking head character.
That would be fantastic. What I want to see is I want to talk to you a little bit about the kind of stuff we're building, and I think in a way, it jives very well with what you're doing. First of all, for debates, okay? A lot of times, there's no good platform for debates. Like if I said, hey, I want to go debate someone, right? Where would I go? I don't think there is one.
Twitter.
Yeah, I guess Twitter, right?
Yeah.
But you can have this like head-to-head, discussion.
Those are also not really debate to find a solution, but more debate to win. And what we really need is debate for solutions.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, so the thing is, like, debates can be fun, but you're absolutely right. There needs to be collaboration. And I sometimes go into the socio-political aspects of society, right? So when you have Twitter, when you have essentially people with audiences that are quite big, then whatever you tweet will instantly show up in the feeds for many, many people. And it's whoever has the most followers, right, can unfiltered tweet whatever they want. What that does is, like Blake said, like there's no real discussion, there's no real vetting of information before it reaches the public, right? Whereas like Wikipedia or science, like science has peer-reviewed journals, right? Wikipedia has all these languages, and within any article, there is a talk page where people decide, what about this? What about that? So they can have multiple viewpoints addressed. But in today's society, right, we have essentially talking heads. And sometimes, so there's two problems in today's society. One is that essentially people are being told what to say, and the market kind of decides what they say.
Hi, I'm Fox Senate.
And so this is the result. Sinclair Television bought a bunch of stations, okay? Yeah. And essentially it looks something like this. One moment.
After saving with customized car insurance from Liberty Mutual, I customize everything. Like Marco's backpack.
Hi, I'm Fox San Antonio's Jessica.
Well, we got some ads too, so there's also monetization there.
Headley.
And I'm Ryan Wolf.
Our greatest responsibility is to serve our Treasure Valley communities, the El Paso, Las Cruces communities, Eastern Iowa communities,
Mid-Michigan communities.
We are extremely proud of the quality, balanced journalism that CBS 4 News produces.
But
plaguing our country.
The sharing of biased and false news has become all too common on social media. More alarming, some media outlets publish these same fake stories without checking facts first.
The sharing of biased and false
news has become all too common on social media.
More alarming, some media outlets without checking facts.
So forget avatars. These people are mouthpieces, essentially, when their station is bought. They're told what to say, and if they don't say it, then they're replaced by someone who will say it. So a system like that, you may not see it because you're watching one of the stations, but how many talking points are really being, said by whoever? So the idea is that if everyone, the Web3 world is supposed to be more egalitarian, a world where people have, it's more flat. And more importantly, if people compete, if there's competition and organizations compete, then they're facing market pressures, and essentially they face this kind of thing where they also have to create echo chambers. For example, Mark Zuckerberg, Oh, more ads. Sorry.
You're dealing with an addicted generation. This is a big time bomb ticking.
this is no accident. Indeed, it is by design.
I mean, seriously?
It was my mistake.
I mean, I think we can all feel it.
To try to make these products as addictive as possible.
Spike in dopamine.
We now know that many of the major social media companies hire individuals called attention engineers who borrow principles from Las Vegas casino gambling, among other places.
Etc. What I'm trying to say is this. Because of market competition, the social networks need to have algorithms that select for engagement and monetization, right? So as a result, everyone's put into echo chambers, and the thing that engages the most is outrage. So if look at someone on this other group, look what they did. And so that gets reshared. So our society becomes this, and outlets like the New York Times even, and others admit to New York Times tests headlines. They have to basically make sure that the headlines will be enough clickbait that people will actually click on them, because they're subject to market competition.
Well, yeah, of course. I mean, modern journalism has changed dramatically over the last, even the last decade. I mean, there used to be integrity with that, but now it's all corporate run. And like you said, they have quotas to meet. They need to have users now. This is where it's at.
I'd say there used to be the impression of integrity.
Well, I guess so. I guess I'm
Depends
going back.
I guess. But my point is this, is that we have amassed a bunch of, say, goodwill or intellectual property, or like you said, integrity, that corporations have paid a lot for to have that reputation, that brand, okay? Marvel Cinematic Universe has spent billions and also made billions creating their virtual worlds. And so for entertainment, that's great. And NFT Remix, what we do is we're actually looking to connect artists with those brands. So you can take Superman and animate him into your, create an animated short with Superman, which otherwise you would not be able to publish. And then, DC Comics would create a contest where people would, essentially, they would select who they want to publish so that new artists can have a chance, as opposed to just having to be hired. Like Stan Lee or Steve Ditko were hired for Marvel. So that would be interesting, opening up to the crowd. But the reason I went on this tangent is just because Blake said that it's important to have discussion, not just debate, not just winning, right? So like in science and Wikipedia and open source software, there is vetting of newly submitted content. It isn't just like, you don't just tweet at 3 a.m. that you've discovered something in science and everyone just instantly believes you, right? It has to go through something.
It has to be replicated usually.
Sometimes.
Usually, yeah. Unless you say that you've been suppressed by the scientific establishment and no one will publish your discoveries, then you might have to go another route. But those are the issues, right? The web disrupted a lot of these things. They face market pressure. And so journalism has to create one-sided stories in a way, because if they created two-sided stories, it just wouldn't be so interesting to their audience. If they kept, explaining why this wasn't really a gaffe video, but it was just cut to look like a gaffe, then people would be like, oh, come on. I want to reshare this,
Yeah.
Anyway, so my point is, if you go through YouTube and you have all these nice discussions, you can create them with avatars. And then eventually, I think you could create a site where people collaborate on information together, rather than, like you said, try to win a debate and create echo chambers.
Of course, yeah, totally. Because now if we're using, anonymous avatars to now talk this, to provide this information as content to the users, then it becomes less about trying to be, pressing upon your own ego or trying to be famous by saying stuff, and now we can just deliver information.
Yeah, exactly. Go ahead. I just want to say, when you go on Wikipedia and you read about an article about anything, right? There's no celebrity authors here. It's just the content, right? And you could see the history of like who did what. But Mr. Ali is probably not very famous in the real world for his. Mr. Ali.
I've thought for a long time it would be hugely beneficial to society if, like, The Voice or, these different talent shows, if one of them were a debate show and it was actually, let's see who's the best debater, but not, to crush the other person, but to, find answers. And the debaters that try to crush the other people, they don't win the audience appeal because they're not nice people. It's the people who find consensus that would end up winning.
Exactly. I think the thing that I liked, that was inspiration for this, was Intelligence Squared debates at NYU, my school. Mm-hmm. And they have those at Oxford also and others. So, these are like vegan, they get a group. So like on one side it could be vegans, on the other side it would be meat eaters, right? And they would basically talk about why it's important, this and that. And what was interesting is they got the audience to poll before the debate where they were on the issue, and then after the debate. So it wasn't just like, you know, if you bring more friends, you win, but it was like, if you changed more minds, then you win. You know what I mean? It was still about winning, but I think it's important to get a baseline of like where the audience is.
They used to do this decades ago, right? Because when I was in undergrad in the 80s, we used to go to NYU to watch these debates.
Yeah. I forgot you were also at NYU as well, right?
Yeah. I was at Boston University, but my sister was at Columbia. And so I was back and forth between the two cities constantly.
Oh, very cool. Yeah, that's basically, there's the format. And so that inspired me to say, look, I want to create an online debate forum where people come and they bring their audiences, right? And that's the big thing. Everyone's got a community. Sam Harris has a community and Noam Chomsky has a community, right? But then when you have them email each other, and they got into some spat years ago, 7 years ago or whatever, okay? Basically, he published it, and their respective followers, opined on who was right and who was wrong. But whether it's politics or science or whatever, or ethics, or philosophy, I think you could have a lot of interesting things where people already have these followers. They already have these audiences. Like I said, I am not such a big fan of celebrity culture. I think it's important for the content to stand on its own and be collaboratively edited. And that's what I'm creating. But at the same time, I feel that society is not used to that. They're used to, like, I built it, I own it. So if I built, a following of 20 million people, I own that. And they should listen to whatever I say unfiltered. Like, why are you, you can't stop me. But then what happens is eventually it becomes a corporate thing where,
First.
you hire people and they say what you want them to say, right? So there's now a lot of people working for you in some top-down pyramid who themselves may have a different opinion, but they don't want to get fired. So they'll just say whatever, and this is true also of governments. Sometimes in different countries, you can't have such freedom of speech. Anyway, so
if you look at the NFT space too, don't you feel like a lot of the NFT success is due to marketing? And using celebrity influencing to market that project. And, look at Yuga Labs and the Bored Ape phenomenon that's happening, right? It's really...
We're about to bring in Mel for this, and I would love to get... this is the second part of the show where we have a two-part show. Sorry, Mel, making you wait all this time. And speaking of collaboration, so I just wanted to say, I think, yes, I personally have seen NFTs and other communities run this playbook of like, well, we are the authors, we are these people who started it, and if you don't like it, you can get out. But if you like it, right, then you follow us and you listen to what we say. I'm interested in communities that basically self-organize and, create something from the ground up. One thing was Andrew Yang, when he wanted to do the Yang gangs, right? All these Yang gangs were self-organizing. It was kind of decentralized, and we helped them to do that. Whether they're out in Kansas or they're, somewhere in Berkeley, we're able to actually have these people connect with each other. And so I want to see what people can build bottom up. And I'll start off the community, just like we did with the Intercoin community. But I think eventually I want to see what people can create, and kind of like, as for me, I'll hand it off to the community eventually, right? I'll kind of be like, here you go. And I think that's important, and we need to see more of that because the community can then collaborate. Anyway, enough of me talking. Here I am talking all the time. So, Stacy, would you like to introduce Mel, our second guest, as well?
Yeah, Mel, please introduce yourself. Can you give us like a little bit of a background? I know we've talked previously, and I know when we talked about NFTs, you said, I'm finally doing something that I absolutely love. So do you want to just introduce yourself and kind of what you got going on?
Absolutely. So my name is Mel Hartz. I'm a digital artist, an NFT artist. I'm also a photographer. I went through some health issues, and I had a spinal fusion done, and it was during that time where I sort of transferred over into the digital art world and learned Photoshop and how to manipulate my photos, and from there it just kind of springboarded into this digital art. Once I discovered the NFT community, it was amazing, absolutely amazing to me to discover a community of my peers that I've never had before. I think the biggest thing about the NFTs for me is the fact that you can take your physical art and you can attach it to the digital piece as an unlockable item, and therefore you could sell both the digital and the real physical piece of art. It's a great opportunity for artists, and I would love to get as many artists as I can into this space, because it provides, like I said, opportunities that just aren't available out there in the real world for networking.
Okay, so initially when you got into NFTs, how did you first hear NFTs?
My NFT journey actually started with cryptocurrency. When I had my back surgery and I was sort of down and out, I started thinking about my future and, the future of my family, and wanted to invest and maybe get a little nest egg. And in my research into the cryptocurrency, I fell into the NFT community. And that's really where my journey sort of started.
Okay, I'm more so myself into crypto, but I have fallen in love with the NFT community. What is it that you enjoy so much about the NFT community?
I think the biggest thing for me is being able to connect with people and to connect my art with people. It gives me such a feeling of joy when people connect with my art and love it purely for the art, not because, I'm a nobody. So it's not because, it's Mel Hart's art, it's amazing. It's simply because they think my art is amazing. And as an artist, that gives my art spirit such joy and a feeling of fulfillment. Like, this is where I'm supposed to be.
Amazing. Okay, I'll ask you first, but I also want to ask Blake and Ryan this as well. But what would you say the biggest challenges you've had with this? Because I know in the beginning, building a community and all that, it's hard. What challenges stand out the most that maybe we could look at building products to accommodate and fix these problems, or even just people listening, they can learn from your guys' mistakes? I don't know if I want to say the word mistakes, but challenges.
I think the single biggest challenge is the education that is freely available for people just getting into this. There's so many directions you can go with cryptocurrency, with crypto wallets, with exchanges, and trying to swap out coins, especially when it comes to buying NFTs, because they're on so many different chains. And if I've lost a couple $100 over the course of time in just not paying attention and not being educated enough when trying to swap out currency. So I think the education that's easily accessible from start to finish for people in this space is a really big thing that everybody all the way around needs to address.
100%.
Yeah, I agree too. It's interesting too, because I've got a graduate economics degree. And so when I first heard about crypto back in 07, I was mining my own Bitcoins. And while I just got the technology and just started to put it together. But then while it was sitting there churning, I got into the math and started trying to really understand what the economic mathematics were. And at that level, it's almost just like fiat money. It's I personally have a hard time with the mathematics, but then again, I'm not going to sit there and do the formal math to really prove it all. And one of the things that I find very interesting is when you start getting into the crypto education, I find that they borrow terminology from formal finance. And, use their own definition without pointing out that it's a separate definition. And so I think there's a good amount of confusion within the crypto space when things are being described that description isn't necessarily the financial world's definition.
Yeah. I think that definitely we should all try to bring some clarity into the space as far as definitions and instructions go.
Well, as things take off, as this gets more and more serious, I believe that the formal mathematicians are going to come in and start pointing out what parts don't work. And this actually kind of goes back to what Greg was talking about with the whole debate issue, is we need people who can reason through these things in public that are such good communicators that they take everybody with them. We have far too many experts that they're experts in their field, but they're not expert communicators. And so we have to basically take their word for it because we trust they're so smart. But they can't explain it in a way that we can follow. And I think that's a problem.
Yeah, I agree. I also wanted to mention that my team and I on LinkedIn, we have created a group for LinkedIn artists and creators because there really wasn't a space for creators on LinkedIn as of yet. So we created the Artist Collective. And in June, we're actually holding a gala for all of the artists that have joined up to put on a display in Spatial.
Wow, now okay, I'm in that group, right?
Yes.
Is there a link that maybe Greg could share for people that want to join that?
The artist
we can even provide it
collective,
after. I'm going to have you guys join the community forum, and we can provide all that after for people that want to join.
I'll send you over some links on LinkedIn to our sites.
Thank you. Now,
actually, sorry, if I may ask, it's Elena here. Actually, we have already posted about today's event in a forum, community forum on Intercoin community. And please, Mel, if you can share all your links there, because we already began conversation about this event, today's event there. And I'm sure that plenty of people who would watch this video on YouTube, they would be able to go and ask questions and to continue conversation at the forum.
Absolutely.
Now, you guys are we're all kind of in the same industry, but kind of different. What platforms, I think you guys said Discord was best for you guys. Is that the platform that you socially get the most out of?
For the most part, yeah, between Discord and Twitter.
Okay.
I actually use LinkedIn.
Yes,
LinkedIn's well. I mean, essentially, wherever the users are that you're trying to reach is the best way to get their attention. I mean, that could be Reddit, that could be YouTube, that could be LinkedIn, or whatever. I mean, just go where the people are that you wanted to bring into the community and get them there.
I think a big benefit of LinkedIn would be that people are doxed, right? So you're dealing with real people to a degree more so. Now Discord, I'm not the best at Discord. What is the appeal of Discord, or is it just something that kind of snowballed because that's where a lot of the NFT community started? Can anyone explain that to me, or do you guys know?
I don't know. I think it just snowballed.
Yeah, because I feel like there's probably something better that can be used, but I definitely feel the NFT community uses Discord.
I mean, I started with Discord because as a gamer, that's kind of where I was. That's where a lot of the users that I wanted to interact and connect with were. And then it kind of blew up into this now, Twitter and Discord are the de facto, platforms for NFT announcements and communities and whatnot. Is it the best platform for it? I don't think so. But right now, it works well. I enjoy Discord. There's some limitations to it, but otherwise, it's a good way to keep track of your community. I know there's some companies out there in the Web3 space that are trying to essentially make the Discord for Web3. That's a little more friendly for the things that the NFT community needs. It's just kind of like, I think, like I said, it's just kind of the de facto place to go.
Greg, is there anything you want to share to that?
Yeah, I think in general, I just want to say that the community aspect is important as well. If I can just kind of, I love, by the way, Mel, I love the animation that's going on here, the subtle, how did you make this, by the way?
I animated it with an app called Motion Leap.
Nice. Does it do sort of like a liquid surface, like on a sphere? Is that how it is?
Motion Leap allows you to set anchor points and specific paths anywhere in the picture. So I just go through and set all my anchor points and then figure out which direction I want everything to move and draw the arrows that way.
Oh, I think I've seen ads for Motion Leap. That's when you help people to basically animate this is Motion Leap. So like you have someone's here you go. Yeah, you've got someone's jacket, and then you can make particles come out of the jacket.
Yes, exactly.
Like that.
It's a really neat tool.
Yeah, it's a really cool app. And then over here, I see that people can follow different NFTs, different authors, right? Different communities, artists. I think that's important as well. Seeing faces. I mean, that's what made Facebook so nice. And our, primate brain likes to see people's faces. These days, we're seeing less faces and we're seeing more avatars, which is interesting too. So I think once you click on this, probably in the future, you're going to have some 3D avatar, right? Or something where you guys might have.
I had my Ready Player Me for a while, but then I went back to my profile picture because it just seems like people like to, like you said, see the face to associate it with a real person. It makes them more comfortable with interacting.
Exactly. So that's basically, what I'm trying to do is I want to go to like YouTube or any of these podcasts. Like when we work with these podcasters here, it's kind of boring just looking at their video. Do you know what I mean? So like here we've got,
National Intelligence who testified on Capitol Hill today. And urea, which is ammonium nitrate fertilizer, apparently. Russia's number 4 with about 70% of the amount of production.
So basically, instead of this, right, you would have avatars.
That the U.S. is a migrant.
And what you would do is essentially you have the audio and you just wouldn't care about anything in the video. You would just have, let's say, Ian and Arya over here, and they would have their own avatars. And then basically they would have a background, which you could also use storyblocks.com or other footage that literally analyzed what is being said and tried to essentially create something that would be interesting to watch. Like what we're doing now is we're having a show. We're not looking at people's faces so much. We're looking more at the what's being discussed, right? And so I think there's certain utility to that, but it also I think could be a very entertaining. You could have avatars appearing, and the subject matter would be what the video is actually showing. What do you all think of that, by the way?
I think it's a great idea. One other thing I really like about avatars is sometimes you don't feel your best. Sometimes you don't feel like you look the best. Or maybe you just don't feel like getting all cleaned up. Why not have the perfect looking version of you, the idealized version of you? And also, as I'm getting older, I like my younger avatar.
There you go. So yeah, I think that's a major thing, right? People, they go on Zoom. They don't necessarily want to show their face all the time. I certainly don't. And if you're a woman, you probably want to have some makeup on or something, typically. Not always, but I think with your avatar, you always look perfect, right? So it definitely helps to roll out of bed and just have your avatar represent you.
Do you have the link to the Twitter page of my old avatar store? If you go to Twitter and search on 3D Avatar Store, that's my former avatar company. So you see that face image there? That's my avatar, and I think that is realistic enough as well as idealized enough. Where you see what I look like now live. That is close enough that a person would, I think, feel that they are being represented accurately. And then as you see, I was able to do some silly things like the second to the right, I've got vampire teeth with blood dripping out of my mouth.
Yeah.
And then on the far right, I've got Mike Tyson's tattoo on my face. So people can do fun things while being realistic.
So that's basically what I'd like to see. And if these avatars are collaboratively put into all of these environments, like we're talking about, I think that's going to be a game changer. That's what Facebook is trying to do. The only problem I have with Facebook doing it and corporations doing it is that we are going to be in this virtual reality for so long and immersed for so much time that it's kind of uncomfortable for me to have the corporations almost control that environment, as opposed to like me grabbing open source models and environments like I do with, I forgot the name, Minecraft, right? Where I can run my own game off of that server. So I think it's going to become important. People don't understand it right now, but as you start getting the Apple glasses and later in 10 years, maybe Neuralink in your brain, like you're going to care who is controlling the experience. Is it going to be commercialized for you, or is it going to be, are you going to be free of market pressures?
And then let's also not forget the fact that these days, 3D rendering in real time is ubiquitous. It's everywhere. Kids learn how to do 3D themselves as a hobby when they're in grade school. So all of this stuff that right now to people our age is new tech, that's just the way things are for everybody being born today.
Exactly. People don't understand even what is happening to their kids because we haven't studied it yet. The iPad and what happens with maybe they get addicted to it. Some kids, I've seen a video where the kid thinks that a book is just a broken iPad. It's like, why isn't this scrolling?
I've seen that too.
Yeah, so I would like to see some stewardship of our future, but for now, we are creating this tech. And I don't know what's going to happen. Meta filed 8 patents about the metaverse. I don't know what they have done, but essentially they just want to cash in on it. That's at least according to the Financial Times. Basically, everything we see on the internet today has to do with, faces market pressure. You have to sign up. You have to subscribe. You can't see the article, right?
It's difficult that way. Almost everywhere you go.
Almost, yeah.
Now, what I find interesting about Facebook's ambitions here is back in 2008, I patented globally what are now called deep fakes. And I was trying to raise money to do exactly what Ryan and I are doing now, but I was unable to raise money back then because people literally did not believe it was possible to automatically replace people in video. so that it looked realistic, yet I had a working system. And the people that I finally convinced to, this was real, this is viable, they wanted to do pornography. And I just refused, just up and down. But I did manage, to great expense, get a global patent on the idea of replacing people in video. And the patents expired in 2017. And the month after they expired, almost like 2 days after they expired, that's when Facebook announced their AR kit. So I thought that was kind of interesting.
Wow. That's very interesting. You think they knew about it?
I'm pretty sure they had to. My patent attorney was Apple's patent attorney. I had to get special clearance from Apple to use him as my attorney.
So product placement looks like one of the things that Facebook is thinking about doing. Let companies sponsor the appearance.
Yeah, that's not protectable any longer because that was in my patent.
Exactly. I would think you have a lot of prior art. A lot of these things are prior art. So yeah,
I want to say one thing. Yeah. I don't mean to cut you off, Greg. Just I spoke to Ryan before the show, and I know he only could do an hour today. So I want him to know that whenever he has to exit, he's more than welcome to. And I just want to thank him for being a special guest. I know he does have something, and he's actually been here longer than what he agreed to.
No worries, and thank you very much. Blake can still continue to talk, and he's got way more fun things to say than I do at the moment. But thank you for your time. Thanks everyone for listening. I really appreciate it, and hope to see you guys soon.
It was a pleasure to meet you
again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Stacy, I actually cannot hang out too much longer either. I have got to get my day started.
So just real quick,
thank you.
Everyone who's on the call, Philip, Bernice, whoever wants to ask questions, definitely more than welcome.
Yeah, feel free. You can ask any questions about anything, really. If you're interested in what it's like to develop.
How can we help you guys?
Blake, I'd like to find out more about this real-time animation with avatars. That'd be great to find out a bit more about.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so basically, the system, we've got two different versions of it right now, actually three. We're sunsetting the first version we made that works with one photo. The newer version we're working on right now, it accepts three photos, like left, right, and center. And then there's another version of it that you upload a video of you just turning your head. And that generates the avatar. And then once the avatar has been created, we have a separate software that we're working on that is in our R&D group that as you can talk to your video camera, basically, and it captures your face in real time, and then it animates the facial annotations that make up your facial features. So as I'm raising my eyebrows and moving my mouth and so on, all of those positions sync on your avatar. And this is all, moving towards like what Greg was talking about of being able to have hosts in video where a person has their idealized self versus, they just got out of bed.
Yep, can really understand that point of view. Would make great use of that.
Yeah, and then also, there is a ulterior motive to the whole thing. After this whole thing is all, up and operating and people are using the system and excited about having their avatars and creating avatars, then my secret mission is to contact film studios and major music artists and have versions of their film trailers and versions of the top music videos where you're replacing one of the people in the video. So then it's you, in the Lady Gaga video, or you, in the next Avengers trailer. And I think something like that actually turns advertising on its head, because if you've got the right compelling content, people will pay for that. And that completely changes the advertising industry.
Jeremiah, you had something you wanted to ask?
Yeah, I was going to say, how can we help you guys?
Invest. I don't know. Use us. We'd love to work with Greg and co to realize some of these technologies. You know, we're basically we're not on a raising investment track. We are building our company through clients and through revenue. And you know, the mission of the company is essentially to make it so that anybody who wants to create avatars can, anybody who wants to create 3D meta worlds, we're sort of positioning ourselves as like the bus depot for the metaverse, where when you leave one virtual world and you want to go into another, there needs to be a place, a neutral intermediary place that provides the transition, basically the bus depot. You know, when you go from a world that is cute to a world that is realistic, you want your character to transform from cute to realistic as you go, as well as all of the other assets. And in order to work that out, you really need a intermediary fair third party to be able to make sure that these virtual worlds are having their assets respected and that the competing virtual worlds are not trying to shortchange each other.
Like my use cases would be more to have a 24-hour by 7 days avatar that can respond intelligently to questions in real time from people who want to find out about my non-profit organisations. So assuming that I'm around for 8 to 16 hours a day, that I have to sleep sometime, but really I need to be able to have 24-hour responses, and it would be convenient to have a somewhat realistic avatar who can speak intelligently. So the question is, have you thought about adding any AI back-ends to your avatars?
Yes, we already have done that a couple times. There was a science fiction novel, Duality. It's actually it's actually a really good novel. And when the book was published, my last company, we put up a website that was the main character, who was a AI that named itself Nietzsche. And so we made a talking avatar of Nietzsche, and he knew the plot of the book. And so you could go to the website and chat directly with Nietzsche, and he would talk to you and explain plot points.
Yeah, fantastic. Exactly what I want. I mean, I've got the different non-profits which I would have to explain, you know, most of the background to, and if the AI could learn that'd be great.
Yeah, I think probably the more difficult aspect of that is programming the AI to understand all of what you know so that it can respond intelligently. And the guy that wrote that science fiction novel was actually he's a AI natural language researcher also. So he had previously put his entire book's plot into his AI, so it was able to do that. And
fantastic.
I'm not quite, you know, I could probably contact him to find out, you know, if you're really interested.
Definitely.
The work. All right, sure. Yeah. we can trade information after the show, and we will.
Yeah, fantastic.
Okay.
I did a talking head out of Unity some time ago when there was some Australian politics going on, and I was threatening to run as a candidate for the Australian Senate, but didn't end up having enough time. But that talking head avatar, I mean, it's sort of a primitive version of the sorts of things that you've done, but it didn't have any of the AI stuff that we've been talking about. It would be good to add that to it.
Mm-hmm.
Let me ask you this, Blake. If we have the avatars from Ready Player Me, would you guys be able to somehow animate them? They're standard files, I think, right?
I just have to see them, but yeah, I would expect what Ready Player Me is creating, they would be outputting a more or less standard format. But even if it's not more or less standard, we have ways to access into it.
It's it's very standard. It's I'll tell you right now. Download. 1 second. Oh, here you go. I think it's this GLB. I'm not quite sure, but this GLB file I think is standard.
Yeah. That is standard. Although that's the standard file format. I'd have to look at the file itself to tell whether or not the character is in a standard format. As far as, it's like there's certain organizations that are standard for games and for characters. But since they're expecting to have these 4 games, I'd be very surprised if they're not already set up in that standard manner.
Exactly. No, I think they would be. Dragging this into the browser seems to just go open the URL. Very interesting. But anyway, so yeah, I think that's the future of avatars. And I think with these immersive environments that we have in these NFTs, it's very interesting to see what's going to happen in the next couple of years.
Let me see if I can find that duality link. Where should I paste this link so you can play it, Greg?
That's a good question. Into the chat. Oh, you can't place it in the chats.
Let me paste it into your
personal. Yep.
Okay, 1 moment.
Message me on Telegram. Yeah.
I'm putting it into your LinkedIn because that's what I have up at the moment.
You can do that. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the talking head that I did for this science fiction book.
Could we get all those links for the video in YouTube as well?
You know what would be? Have you guys? Has Stacy sent you an invite to the community forum yet, or not yet?
No, I have.
Okay. Blake, are you on here?
I'm not sure who joined.
Yeah, I'm on there.
Oh, there you are. Yep, exactly. So we're growing our own community, and we're using Discourse for that. And then afterwards, we are going to integrate the Intercoin app with this. So everyone's just part of the community is going to be able to invite people, earn credits eventually, and so on. So that's what we're working on. And you can also send me the link here.
Yeah.
By the way, this video is going out. Anybody who has questions, feel free to ask Blake. You can always reach out here. And Blake, if you want to, you can, have you done the introduce yourself thing? And you can always post, but, oh yeah.
I'm in there somewhere.
There you go. Oh, there you go.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, we have all our guests basically fill this out. And then if you want, feel free to post on here about once you guys have, a service that you launch. I mean, people want to know. Philip, I think, wants to send you questions. You can do it here as well.
Okay. Yeah, great.
Yeah. So that's basically where it's going. On our end, we are turning this community into a sort of a kind of experience that you see here, with events, and NFTs are going to be here as well. Like you see these events here, NFT Remix is going to have NFTs. You're going to be following NFTs similarly to how we were showing it right here, right? Where you essentially show interest in NFTs, right? That's what we have here. And of course, we're going to integrate with this community so that the idea is that eventually you're going to earn badges and they're going to be cross-platform. Finally, the events that people have could be turned into a show, right? They could be turned into, so if you're a podcaster or you have something that's going on, right? What's a live event right now, it's taking place on Telegram or whatever, it's going to be able to also take place on your own site. We have a decentralized broadcast, meaning it's not going through YouTube or Telegram or anything. It's literally like, here, I'll actually show you. So here I'm calling into the show. It's on the site. It's decentralized. Be able to call into the show, right? You could have video if you want. Different layouts. So, for example, you could have avatars. Currently, these are the avatars. You could have, different ways of presenting all this. But in the end of the day, you can have broadcasts which are, in fact, completely decentralized. You get this link, and whoever visits this link, okay, is going to actually see the broadcast happening right now. This is still a demo. That's why you still have this. But this broadcast, the only reason it's not happening is because background tabs aren't able to get video. So it wouldn't be me watching my own broadcast. It would be someone else. But you could also start Facebook live streaming. You can also, check out where it's going to be. Stream to YouTube. And finally, so you can, see what you need to do. Finally, you can also, let me just close this, I guess, manage the live stream. So this is where you have your own, Stacey, you might recognize this from OBS software, right?
Yes.
Oh, by the way, I need to tell them that this is, it has to mirror, like this is my right hand, but it's showing my left hand, but whatever. So here you've got sources, you've got audio, video. You can put your own backgrounds, and this is where the avatars are going to go. This is where things get really cool. You can add, sources. I'm going to move this out of the way. So you got, like, for example, you can add video. You could just choose it from your, this is before you go live, right? You would do something like this. And then you just kind of play it during the podcast, and you can have people come on the show. You could also have images. We even have a file manager, you could add images and so on. So we're building it slowly, but the idea is that once you have all this, it's going to be used by people on the ground, or I should say in the metaverse or whatever. And we're gonna have what I'd like to have is essentially I'd like to have avatars be over here, right over here, and this would be what we're talking about, just like I'm showing the screen right now. So it wouldn't be about us; it would be about the content.
Right. One of the last things I was working on before my last avatar company closed, we were doing over-the-shoulder talking head videos with the idea being that the user would be explaining something, and that would be an avatar, and then over their shoulder, like some sort of newscaster, is video and illustrations of what they're talking about.
Yes, exactly. That's what I'd like to do. We don't have the budget for this right now to also do, but maybe story blocks or some API where you just put in the video. Like, for example, we're talking about, I don't know, stock market crash, right? And there's probably a video of like stock market crashing right there. So I think this would be more not live, but post-production. And that's the idea, to go through what we have now, just extract the audio, and presumably, create something where even if you did nothing, and there was no interaction with the. It could have been a video recorded 5 years ago or 20 years ago, right? It would be turned into something that would use Storyblocks videos. It would use. It would also use royalty-free videos as well as your royalty or your avatars that you decided to use, and together that would create a more interesting video that people might actually watch, as opposed to talking heads like you have here now.
Right. And then what's also nice is when you can feed it through an AI that is able to identify topic changes, and you put automatic bookmarks at those spots and things like that. Because one of the problems I have with getting video instructions or video tutorials or video classes is you have to sit there and wait for them to get to the topic you want. It'd be great
exactly.
to have some sort of indexing ability, and I'm sure whoever comes up with video indexing is going to be a huge company.
It's going to be a huge thing. I think YouTube is they already have all of the captions in their Google, so I think they can do that, but for some reason they don't do automatic chapters or automatic links to places in the video. Every podcaster that pays us to make a community site like this, we've had this conversation. It's like, well, can you tap a button on your show when you're switching topics, right? When you go to the next segment. And they're like, no, we're going to forget to do that. So it's down to analyzing the text, essentially.
Yeah.
Well,
and
that's
we should have AIs able to do that pretty soon too.
I hope so. We're talking to investors about, this is an all-in-one platform. What you're seeing here, you probably haven't seen anywhere on the web, right? I mean, you tell me.
It's very integrated, yes.
Yep. And it's all supposed to work together in a collaborative way. So you've got your shows. You've got people that you can invite on your show. You can invite them any way you want. Contacts. You could select existing people here, right? You can also earn credits for listening to the show and inviting people who will then join the show. And you can also buy credits. Right now, this doesn't work because, essentially, it does work, but it used to work natively with the browser. The browser had this saved your credit card. And I can actually show you how we work just for a second before we all jump. So we have a qbix platform. This is qbix. So we've got the GitHub for qbix, and we've got the GitHub for Intercoin. Artem works on Intercoin. Artem, you still here? Yeah, he was here earlier. I just want to say this. On qbix platform, we have essentially, see this fixed payment request. There's basically what we do is I often do this. I do these reviews. And then for now, just to show you, I'm going to pull the changes in. Nice thing about what we do is we don't have a monolithic live environment, okay? So this would normally not happen like this. Somebody would review this thoroughly. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to update our live environment right now, one of them, with this new code. And what this code does is it fixes the situation here where we couldn't use Google Pay. So here we go. Okay, it's done. Now we refresh. And I suppose now when you press buy credits, nope, I'm going to look at it later. But the idea is for this thing to pop up, essentially, and to say, okay, you can pay with your credit card built into the browser. So the long story short, the web is an amazing platform for having your own community on it. You don't need Discord necessarily. You don't need Telegram or anything else, okay? You could have your meetings on here, right? You could have your avatars. You could turn on your camera, right? All of this can happen out of the box. And that's your community. You can let your members talk to each other and connect to each other. And when you run your own show, it actually becomes important. Like eventually we're going to start running our own show off of our own site, as opposed to just Telegram, because Telegram's great and it gives you all these tools to record and everything else, but it's not customizable with your own credits and your own backgrounds and themed things. And also, it's not, how do I put this? It's not, you can get deplatformed. You don't have your own ecosystem, your own credits, your own NFTs, etc. And even if you did, we're just an open source competitor, I guess say, to big tech. And so if we can build something like this, where the community, right here, you see all the conversations, right? You see all of the things people talk about. You see essentially all the events coming up. That's what the Intercoin app is going to be. And once the Intercoin app launches, we'll integrate it with the community forum, right? Mm-hmm. And we'll make it so that you can actually integrate everything. So if you're a podcaster, you want people to just get on your show and then keep in touch, stay in touch afterwards, make like this social networking type of thing, right? Where you have your own, you could change your avatar just like that. Now I look like Noam Chomsky. So that's basically what we've built. We built a construction kit to create these. And if you guys have the avatars, that's the other side of the coin. Mm-hmm. So, right, that's what I want to see. I want to see a collaborative world where people essentially have their own communities. Everyone can participate. Everyone feels like they're coming to the shows. They're talking afterwards. They're making friends, right? They're looking at all the people in the community, and they want to add someone to their contacts, and they like them. They can schedule a call with them. All this kind of stuff. They can share files. That's basically what it is. That's basically what we're doing. It was a ton of work. It's been a ton of building this has been a labor of love, but I think now it's all finally coming together. And I think once we raise this round, we can all collaborate. We can all work together to have your avatars be here and to help the debates and the discussions and the events, happen in real time or recorded and post-produced.
Yeah. It works both ways very well.
It does. So yeah, that's basically it. I'm glad I kind of was able to show people this because it's really coming along. This is what Intercoin app is going to be, partly. And so the last thing I just want to say is like crypto needs to go mainstream. We have this idea that crypto is supposed to be this geeky thing with, wallets, right? And moving money around. And like, I think it should be almost like incidental to what you're doing. Like over here, you don't feel like crypto, there's crypto here, right? You feel like it's a social community, right? But at the same time, all of these things like adding someone, giving them a role in the community, right? Making them a host, knowing that they're a host, that could be on the blockchain, right? Earning these credits over here, that could be on the blockchain. And earning badges, minting them as NFTs onto your platform, that could be on the blockchain. So it could be a world where you own your data, you own your avatar, you own your everything. And if you want, you can reuse it across different platforms, but you don't have to. You could do whatever you want with it. So yeah, that's basically where crypto, I think, has to go. And as a result, we call it Web 4, because Web 3 has become this sort of thing that it goes up, it goes down, and that's it. But our humble proposal is that if crypto is going to go mainstream and actually be used like WeChat, Facebook, Telegram, all of these are used, and all of these are speculated on, right? So if you essentially want to do peer-to-peer, you use crypto. But if you want to use community software to have communities, do stuff, build a community around your NFTs collection, engage your you're fans of your show, right? There's a lot of shows that were canceled. People want to like produce spin-offs and other things. Or if you want to have your city, right? This is a mayor of New York City, like I met him again recently. This is a mayor of Twin Harbors, Minnesota. City of Evanston wants to have this. So cities may be coming soon, or maybe coming in a year or two. But for now, like any community should be able to do these things. They should be able to have their own app, their own currency, right? They should be able to govern themselves like with the DAO. So people are starting to get this, but they're like, you know what it is? It's like when you probably know this, like when computers were first coming out with DOS and command lines and Unix, right? People made it all about like the arcane commands and the esoteric like text adventure games, right? And all this stuff, the arcane commands. Whereas like when the graphical user interface came out, all of a sudden everyone could use a computer, right? And I think that's the main thing is like the back end needs to be more scalable. It cannot be blockchains. It has to be beyond blockchain eventually. So we're building intercloud. And then that's what I'm saying. Instead of having an interface like Etherscan and MetaMask and, whatever, you want to have do the same that Apple did, right? I create beautiful interfaces. Maybe these are not the most beautiful, right? Maybe you could have better interfaces than this, but totally customizable social networks that then people can, can actually like engage with and do stuff. The crypto shouldn't be the main thing. When you're driving a car, you don't have to think that the engine of the car is like super, oh, wow, look at this engine. It's exposed, right? It's like you just drive the car. You want to get to where you're going. You have a steering wheel, you have pedals. That's what this should be. This should be your environment. And the crypto should be just this like database thing that stores like the votes, stores the credits, stores the NFTs. But it shouldn't be exposed to people as it is right now.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah, so that's where everything is going. All right, Blake. So let's not just keep in touch, but I want to actually actively, show each other what we are doing. So hopefully we can integrate some of this because the same people that need avatars also need a community and vice versa. People have a community would love to have an immersive 3D environment where they can place their debates and they can place their shows, which is something that I think we could collaborate on if you're interested.
I'm very interested, yes. Looks good.
Yep. All right, guys. Does anyone else have anything to say? Otherwise, we'll call it a wrap, I guess.
We good, everyone?
Yep.
Looks like it.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much for our guests. Thank you for everyone that came.
Thank you for having us.
Yes. Thanks, Greg, for sharing your screen and preparing all this. And we'll be back here next week, same time, Wednesday, 12 p.m. Eastern. In the meantime, join our community forum. That's where this conversation will continue. And the guests can continue to share their updates on there and keep everyone informed. Thanks again.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, everyone. See you next week.
Bye-bye.